it should get people, mainly students, interested in studying all the matters deeper, in a deeper way. The Jain Apostrophe database and mapping teams, they also produced a lot of new things. The Digambar community in London some of them kindly joined me in entering data on Jain mendicant Chaturmas places into Excel sheets and so on. And from that basis, we produced very interesting maps, which were in parts displayed at the exhibition. So again, this has never been done before. So even looking at this, disregarding from the other matters I'm going to very briefly talk about, you can see that the exhibition was quite different from all previous exhibitions, certainly outside India. And it unknowingly to most visitors, no doubt, showed a lot of new material. So this is the Brunei Gallery at SOAS. Some of you know it, of course. I'm at SOAS for how many years? 20 plus, 24 years. And I always dreamt of having an exhibition on Jainism there, because it's a wonderful site, has on three levels, huge display area. And as members of SOAS, academic members, we used to be able to apply for this space and make some exhibition. So I collected privately, with this in mind, for many years, small items of the material culture of the Jains, nothing really valuable, just to show to students what Jainism is all about, and at the hand of important objects. In any case, kindly, the funders of the Kanji Swami project enabled us to realize that long-standing dream, and also their dream to display information on Kanji Swami in particular. So here again in the summary, you can see what happened. And this exhibition came about. We didn't have 2 years, actually. We produced everything in about 8 months. Why? Because SOAS didn't want to make the space available before 2024, and which is the 20th anniversary year of the Center of Jain Studies at SOAS, or the date, actually. This is the year, but this is the actual date when the 20 years are completed. So we planned for that, but suddenly one exhibition had been pulled out, and we were asked, do you want to do it? Then they offered us free access to the rooms, which they said before, a couple of months before, oh, we had to change the rules. Now even the SOAS members have to pay the enormous fees. So we couldn't say no, and otherwise it wouldn't have happened. And within 8 months, which is a very short period, we put this together with a lot of efforts of volunteers, the Kanji Swami community in particular, the general Digambar community in London and beyond, but also of Sthanagwasi communities, Therapant, the Srimad Rajachandra groups here in London with all their contacts, and so on. Taran Swami Pant members through the Kanji Swami connection were also getting involved and helped us. So it was an enormous team effort. And I'll show you a couple of pictures here. This was the Soul, Pure Soul film. And this is the poster of the exhibition, which I will talk about later. We also used it for the book. The book has the following contents. I should make it a little bit bigger slideshow, current slide. You can see the contents are mainly geared towards representing traditions which are usually not represented in Jain exhibitions because they don't have much visual material culture, such as the Stanakavasis, the Srimad Rajachandra followers, Kanji Swami, and so on, some of whom are now creating many temples as well, but at their core, material culture is not of concern. But we also showed other things in line, wrote about other things in line with the focus of the exhibition. I recommend that book. It is mostly original material. Some things are summaries, like Nalini Balbir's description of the Jain scriptures, which is very useful for teaching anyway. And here is Nick Barnard's article, which I mentioned before, and so on. Now here is at the last page of that book, you can see the team that worked on the exhibition. Here are the key curators. John Hollingworth is the director of the Brunei Gallery, who of course inevitably played a crucial role in organizing everything, though of course he does not know much about the contents of the exhibition, but he's a key person. From SOAS, Helene de Jonckere, she is teaching at SOAS, also a specialist in Jainism. Corinne Smith, Anna Soa, I've mentioned them before, and also two members of the funders, the Kanji Swami community, Kirit Gosalia and Nikhil Mehta. Nikhil in Mumbai, he was instrumental in producing a workshop, I think, on Jain art a few years ago in Mumbai. And he had the idea to inspire modern Indian artists to rethink, or using their own imagination to put some philosophical ideas onto canvas or in sculptural forms. And he gave them a lot of freedom, and some of the results of his work we have displayed, not the originals, which are in Songad in the local museum, and they didn't want to share it, but we reprinted high quality digital images. So he was a very important. Kirit, I saw him here in the audience. He, of course, coordinated many things and absolutely vital input. Amongst the advisors are well-known people. Sadly, Paul Dundas, our good friend, passed away very shockingly last year. A great loss to all of us. Designer of the exhibition was Roger Fawcett Tang. He worked with John Hollingworth before, and he did a titanic job as a single person to take responsibility of the visual outline. And in a better funded exhibition, one would have a whole team working on the design. So that gives you an idea. The maps here is the mapping team. Vicky Herring, she's a mapping specialist. I mean, she actually produced the maps, and the others, including me, just produced the data for them. And then we have numerous collaborators here who contributed in one way or another, objects in the main or other kinds of support to the exhibition. And you see the collaborating institutions, many from the London area, obviously, but also organizations in India who sent us material or helped us in other ways with information. All this you can see at the end of the book. Sponsors are here. I understand these are not all of the sponsors, and one or two names should be changed, but it gives you a good idea who sponsored the whole thing and how generous they were. Okay, let me go on. So here, this is the image I wanted to show you at the beginning. Here on the right side, in a nutshell, the story which the exhibition was trying to tell is laid out. Jaina thinkers develop different perspectives on the relationship between the soul and the material non-soul. I'll read it to you. These perspectives can be categorized into two basic stances, namely classical and spiritualistic Jaina philosophy, each with its variants. For classical Jainism, the link between the intrinsically pure soul and karmic matter is real, and liberation therefore only possible through physical austerities combined with perfect nonviolent conduct. Jaina spiritualism insists that spirit and matter cannot interact in any real sense. The soul is not physically bound, but merely associated with karmic matter. Salvation can therefore only be achieved by self-realization. That is, the removal of conventional self-perception by right knowledge and direct meditative insight into the disconnection between soul and non-soul and its eternal liberated stage. The exhibition explores the practical implications of these variants. The spiritualistic traditions adopt the philosophy of Kunda Kunda's mystical work, the Samayasara. They present an alternative to the more common depiction of the Jaina tradition as a radically ascetic religious movement. Yet all forms of Jainism, even those which focus on physical asceticism, involve meditation on the difference between soul and non-soul, and are in that sense spiritual movements. The common aim of all Jain traditions is the liberation of the soul from real or perceived embodiment. In its liberated state, the individual liberated soul is called Siddha. I thought it is important to read all this because the images of the exhibition just illustrate in a way this fundamental difference and give a flavor to the visitor of the artistic expressions or the cultural expressions of this fundamental difference in interpretation. So here I show you some maps which we produced for the exhibition. Not all of them have been shown. So at least a few things you see completely new if you haven't seen the exhibition. They're partly based, of course, on the prosopography database project and information from there. The exhibition started after this initial statement by laying out in very broad terms the whereabouts of the current sectarian groups. These are mainly monastic, but also here checkered lines, lay movements. Unfortunately, the resolution is not, this is very big. I couldn't get a better resolution for you to appreciate all this. In the publication, it's which is coming out where we publish all these images, the Digambar part has been enlarged a little bit. It's still work in progress. To what extent we want to show, for instance, the shakas of the Balatkara Gana and all the other lines which are only in part still existing, is a question, because we want to focus only on the now existing traditions and locate them in a kind of mental map. But you see, this is, again, is a very interesting outcome of this exhibition project. I just flick through these images because of time. We showed these things at the exhibition, and they're well known to all of us. So, but some things are not well known. Oops. Why are the Digambras here? I don't know. So this was the pre-corona distribution of Digambra monks and nuns. Here, this is the data from Tillot, Détige, the memorials, and you can see the clear geographical associations. I mean, these are historical data in the main, 15th to early 20th centuries. And is a Taranswami Chaityalayas is very regionally focused. Tapagacha subjects. We have maps where we show them individually, but it gives you a rough idea of the huge number of different samudayas which are organizationally independent and where they are. And here are, I mean, this is just Tapagach, and here are the other Murti Puja traditions. Kartagach in orange, the Kartagach temples pre-20th century. It's all very interesting for specialists and whoever is interested in one or other aspect. This is here based on Eric's data, the seed of the Yati lineages in 19th and 20th century. Very few are left of these Yatis, which are maybe just labeled as not well-behaved monks and contrasted to the Samvegi munis, sadhus. This is the seeds of the Lonkargach traditions. Actually, did I not give an updated image? Oh, here's the updated image, yes. So my work is concerned with those. Nearly died out. Here the Sthanakavasi Shraman Sang, here the others, Shvetamba Sthanakavasi traditions, lots of diversity. Therapant Shvetamba mendicants, originally from Rajasthan, as it can be still seen, but now spread all over India. Srimad Rajachandra, places linked with his life. Temples and ashramas linked with Rajachandra. We even have here, it's the only map where America and places outside India figure. Of course, they're not related to mendicants. Here, Kanji Swami, as a Sthanakavasi Muni, he roamed around these areas. And then after becoming a follower of Kunda Kunda, and he moved about all in India, of course, using public transport, and even once to Africa. And now temples are built or associated to the Kanji Swami tradition, although arguably it's not needed in line with their teaching. Here's a map tracing the whereabouts of the Parshvanath statue. This is Nick Barnard's research. Please read his articles. Then we collected a lot of, we did a survey on monastic equipment. And this is just an extract, you know, what kind of items are actually used nowadays for our exhibition of the related to mendicant lifestyle. And that was a real research project in itself and will also be published. Now, after coming in, you would be confronted with something like this. I mean, after reading a few panels, and this room, in a way, focuses on the Murti Pujak tradition with this Shatrunjay Pata vast tapestry at the focus, and the left from the V&A, one of these cosmographic representations of Loka. To the right our diagram. And to the left is, at the end, to the left here, is the Yati display, and here some bronzes. And we also have some interesting new research on bronzes in our article book, which you can read. But the star piece, of course, of the entrance room, displaying the history of Jainism from Mahavira onwards, i.e. the historically recorded history, was this Parshvanath image from the V&A. It's a beautiful piece, and we were able to get it, and it really figured perfectly in this space and helped structuring it. It's so well preserved. It's incredible. It's not on display at the V&A because they don't have the space. Only one seated Jina of the same quality they have there. So this is mostly in storage. We used some big posters to create some atmosphere and so on. So you can see this is kind of a Digambara room. Then the blue room was mostly dedicated to the Sthanakavasis, but also to other paraphernalia of mendicants, or paraphernalia of mendicants of other groups, such as Digambara Bhattaraks and Aryikas and Murti Pujak groups. Here, this film we pulled from the internet shows the inauguration of the new Bhattarak of Shravana Belgola, which I think was never filmed before. It's very interesting. Of course, very sad that Charukirti passed away, but we thought it fitted very well. Because the Sthanakavasis refuse photographs, the strict ones, we had a line diagram, and very few paintings are available showing mendicants with mouse mask, which are considered by outsiders as the typical Jains, of course, because it's so distinctive. I mean, sometimes they're mistaken for Zoroastrians, but it is only possible if you look at a layperson. Well, there are different types of brushes, sectarian variations, which the visitors didn't really appreciate, couldn't appreciate. But our studies of all this are there and will be published. And you can see these chores, of course, not Sthanakavasi, these are Murti Pujak. But we use them as decorative pieces because here at the right, there's a Kartagach display area with all their patras and dresses. And this is a Therapant. And I mean, we had a lot of support. I mean, that to put the dresses right was extremely difficult. I cannot tell you. And these paintings are often done by a British colonial staff who had no restrictions, no considerations, and just painted as observers. We have a few of those. We got a full set of Bhattaraka and other dresses related to Digambara saints and displayed them. Here, this is of course not Digambara, this is Murti Pujak, and this is Sthanakavasi, and all these things, only the very keen observer would be interested in it, but we were, and maybe some actually were interested in it. So this mysterious object is a toto, a finger cap used while to enable Keshalunchana to be performed in a less painful way, the plucking of hair. And the great idea of Nikhil from Mumbai was to have this computer-generated image not presented in a square way, but in an angled angular way, which I think is wonderful. So going down from the top room, you would enter here to the right, the biggest room of the exhibition hall, dedicated to Kanji Swami and his legacy. You can see here Kanji Swami as a Sthanagavasi monk, and afterwards as a follower of Kunda Kunda. And that in a way links the blue room and this room, and his contemplations on the nature of the soul and so on, visually represented by these paintings, which mainly Nikhil's project has produced. We selected mostly those. It's very interesting looking at those, that the soul is usually represented as a small little man or being, human-shaped being within the body. Although in the scriptures, of course, it is said to cover the entire body. And of course, these are just some of the images produced. But how to represent the soul is very, very difficult. And that was one of the questions we asked ourselves, and we asked our visitors also to think about. And these images are quite evocative, and they're new. It shows there's creativity, a scope for creativity, even in a tradition like Jainism, which prides itself to be quite norm-oriented and unchanging over the centuries in its commitment to core ideas. So this here was our core object in the exhibition, representing, of course, a Siddha in a modern interpretation. And this was purpose-made for the exhibition because the original is very small. It's about that size only here. And yeah, it's not exactly a human being, but clearly gives the idea of a negative shape of a human being, which the Siddha are supposed to have the shape of a human being, obviously, which is strange, but there we are. So this is sort of the filled-in version of it. Again, this is from Songad. I don't know whether it was purposely, I think it was purposely recreated because Songad didn't want to give anything, you know, like unlike this V&A or other museums, there's no arrangement for landing. And we showed here the film on Kanji Swami, which is about 1 hour long. And many interesting representations. Here you have a whole body image, of course, not a little person sitting inside. And this wonderful painting. This is Hemant Bai, who plays a significant role in the Kanji Swami community, and he came for the opening. There's a statue of Kanji Swami from the London temple, which temporarily was moved here. It's not venerated, but stands outside the temple. And going upstairs, there is a section dedicated to Srimad Radhachandra and the various branches of his followers, and Taran Swami. They're both influenced by spiritualistic teachings to different degrees from Kunda Kunda. So here we have a lineage diagram, how the different groups nowadays relate, and so on. And we recreated in a very primitive way a Taran Swami shrine. And as you know, the writings of Taran Swami are usually displayed, like in a Sikh temple, not an image of a Jinnah, something like this. Question is not clear whether he actively rejected image worship like the Sthanagavasis, but he certainly didn't consider it necessary. And also other spiritualistic books in the Kunda Kunda tradition are displayed and wear these characteristic hats and so on. You see, visually for the visitor, whatever else they read a little bit in the captions or in books, visually these ways of being Jain are completely different. And say the exhibition in Zurich, which was talking about being Jain, it was mainly an art exhibition, very high class, beautiful objects. But it presented Jainism as a kind of aesthetic totality without looking at the finer distinctions and leaving out, of course, these traditions which we focused on. So this is it. I mean, this is how it originally started. And this is one of the intermediary sketches produced in line with our Kanji Swami friends. But it's not the final layout. But we had numerous discussions. And with this, I invite your comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this wonderful information. I would request Anupam Jain Sahab to please take it forward for any questions from the audience or any comments. अनुपम जैन साहब आप अनम्यूट कर लीजिए, so you can.
Sulek, you raised your hand.
Yes, I want to say Jai Jirendra, and I want to say what a beautiful presentation. Or more than that, you have devoted practically all your life, and now I see the culmination of that work, your vision. So I bow to you, and I see my another friend here, Kirit Gosalia, who worked with you. So it's a humongous work, your team. I saw what a beautiful team, collaborations, all of that. So I again want to thank you. It's absolutely a fantastic work, which will go a long way. I have purely one or two suggestions. Number one, I know Keith Bhai has been working. Any plan to bring this exhibition outside London to USA or even to India? Anything like that? And secondly, there is a Firodia Museum in Pune, which you very well know, coming up. Can this be a part of that somewhere in that what you have collected? Can also this exhibition or its material can, in some way, in some fashion, can be shown there? Go ahead, Peter.
I suppose in both cases the answer is no, because the V&A object, for instance, which is the key, the Parshvanatha, this is not in our hands. It has to be completely organized freshly. But parts of the exhibition can certainly be recreated. The Kanji Swami section, for sure. And but the same exhibition cannot travel. It is impossible. Firodia has his own ideas, and I mean, he can, of course, refer to publications and things like that. I don't know, but he has every detail has been taken care of that museum with a team of thousands, I suppose. So, but of course, we are free to and happy to help in any way we can.
Is your book available now in the market?
Yes, it is only on Amazon, however, and through the SOAS bookshop.
I see.
I recommend it for the libraries, and yeah, I think it's a good piece.
Thank you.
Superji, Jai Jirendra, thanks for your comment. And Peter, as usual, you are a great presenter, and you did lots and lots and lots of work for this exhibition to come. And as we say, 8 months, come on, that is impossible to meet, because usually it takes about 2 to 2.5 years of preparations, but then lots of late night burning oil and everything, and working with India, US, and London with the time zones and all things, and several hours of meetings. It just came to the fruition. Answer to your question, Sulekji, yes, part of the exhibition, like lots of canvases and everything, they will be coming to US, and actually we are in a process to have Arizona State University to do the exhibition sometimes in the late January, early February. I'm already in talk with Los Angeles Temple that we will have it. I had talked to University of Toronto, Abhay Gupta, or whatever that new person, the chairperson for the endowment chair at University of Toronto. We are in talk with them. New York also, we are working on it. And so lots of things will be coming over here in a different way, as if Peter said, that not everything can come. Like Parsnett statue, it was already £1.5 million was the insurance on it, just to transfer from V&A to Brunei Gallery, One more thing I'll just say, that this was 10 weeks of exhibition, and we created lots of volunteers, and we had volunteers were trained by Hemant Bhai, and then they were there almost every day. And each time a visitor came, he or she spent minimum 2 hours with the volunteers in explaining all the nitty-gritty thing of each and every part of the exhibition. And I'm happy to say that Peter did not share that information, but then there were 12,000 people visited. 12,000 people visited in 10 weeks' time. And that's what Peter told me. I mean, I don't know about the SOAS gallery and everything, but he said that was the max number of people really attended the museum and everything. One Day International Conference also was extremely well received. And positive thing came out of this meeting was that there are academicians and there are practitioners, and there is a disconnect between those two groups. And at least we were able to establish, with the help of Peter, all this thing, that the practitioners and academicians, they decided to work together. So that's good. That's a great achievement. And I think this seed is sown into the ground, and I'm pretty sure with the new generations like Jinesh and everybody, they will take it to the new level in the next phase of the Jainism into the Western world, because philosophy is untouched practically, and Peter single-handedly tried to work for more than 20 years. But then now that we have so many more chairs are occurred in US and all over world, basically, that I think the best is yet to come for Jainism in Western world. Thank you very much. Thank you, Peter. Thanks for a great presentation.
Thank you, Kirit. I should take the opportunity to emphasize that Kirit was one of the driving forces behind all this. He did the fundraising. He was up in the morning at 4 o'clock till 12 o'clock in the night every day, and coordinated everything with India. And I mean, much of the praise it goes to Kirit actually to get all this going in 8 months indeed only. Of course, we had a lot of research done independently before that time, but the exhibition itself was only done in 8 months. And it showed in the first week where not everything was perfect, but thereafter it settled into its shape. And the visitors book is going to be online. Is beautiful to read. You know, I'm really touched how the Jain community, they were really so proud that their tradition is represented in whichever way. And it's quite touching to read their comments. Are there more?
So, any other comments? Bhandari Sahib, you want to say something? Unmute kar lijiye, please.
Yeah, I only want to say that I'm very happy that so much effort is being done in propagating Jain way of living and so on. So all my appreciations and a lot of visitors came. So I think it is getting popular. The point I want to make is that there could have been, I mean, of course, this is hypothetical, but there could have been other aspects also little bit included, like the how close it is to, I mean, Jain cosmology, and because it is university, you could have brought out some emphasis on the Jain knowledge system, and because this is mostly confined to Jain practices, I understood. And also history before Mahavir would have been very useful, and some geographical things. And I think also it is important to bring out that it has vast application day-to-day life, I mean, as demonstrated by Gandhi. So in politics, for example. So these are some of the things which probably make it more wholesome. The main pillar of Jainism is, of course, Gyan, and too much emphasis on non-violence and, Anekantvad and Aparigraha. That makes it little bit, the main emphasis should be on the knowledge, and this is the century of knowledge, and you have in the university. So I would say that this effort was great, but there are other aspects which would more impress the academician. So this is just a way of suggestion, but I have all my appreciations for you. So this is all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. No, this was in no way a complete anthology of everything Jainism can offer. On Jain mathematics alone, one could have a full exhibition.
Yeah, that is true, but small, coverage of various other aspects would make it more wholesome. This is my thinking. I mean, that was kind of more emphasis on way of living and dressing and so on, and recent history, which, as you said, many horses, but they are all guided by one big lion, 2,500 years ago. So that should be, I think, the main thing. And this just, what came to my mind. But thank you very much for bringing it out, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think Narendraji, I think your point is well taken. That's an extremely important point. But when we were discussing how to take care of it, there's an ocean of knowledge and ocean of things are there in Jainism, and this is simply a one droplet of it. So actually, whole thing, it just gives idea. And when you just say we should just do this way, everything, I think it gives a lot more ideas to the Jain community that, hey, you know what? There is a potential to do lots and lots and lots of things. And that's what I think we should just think about it. There was also, Peter, you can talk about the Switzerland Museum and this museum and the contrast between those two museums.
Yeah, I mentioned already that the Zurich exhibition was presenting trophy objects. It took them, I think, 4 years to get them all to Zurich. Which, I mean, it's very, very difficult bureaucratic process. It was fantastic to see the Mathura pieces so closely, not behind glass, and absolutely superb. I mean, I didn't show the entire exhibition, of course. These were just some small things. For instance, we had a whole sector dedicated to Jain manuscripts, showing palm leaf manuscripts, the first printed books, which surely few of us knew before. I mean, which was the first book ever published on Jainism in print? I leave that question with you. We had all the first books, because print, of course, is the essence, of the modern accessibility to Jain teaching. Jain Shravaks, Upasakas, did not know much about their tradition beyond the Pravachanas. It was impossible. So print is so important. And John Cord is writing also a book on the history of Jain print culture. It should come out soon. And things which you can easily find online be left out, ahimsa and all these things. Because, as I said, we pitched the exhibition differently. We wanted to represent traditions which are usually not represented, which never figured in any other exhibition. Except maybe in India, exhibitions of certain communities themselves have presentation nowadays. Increasingly, museums are built next to temples, but this was led by academic research here, and that was a slight difference. But I mean, without the community, we could never have done it. The communities, I should say. It's very difficult to get even these monastic items. You can buy them on the market, yes, but to get the right ones, etc., etc. You think they are not significant, but the monks think otherwise. That is the core practice for the majority of the Jains, the path to salvation, to go naked just with one peacock brush and water kamandalu and so on. I mean, that's the essence of much of Digambara teaching. Never mind all these clever books. So it is not negligible, I think. But we wanted to focus on the spirituality and how the focus on the self only and the knowledge only has changed, has produced ways of life in the Jain tradition, which is slightly different. You don't have to leave your clothes aside according to that teaching. Of course, ahimsa and all this is shared. There's no doubt, no problem. But in the end, we just wanted to stimulate discussion and spread information about the plurality within Jainism, whereas usually Jainism is presented as one and therefore simplified to the bare bones of the 3 A's. And I think this doesn't do any favor to the tradition, which is so rich and so diverse, so interesting. in every respect. And I think more should be done along these lines. That is the only small thing which we may have contributed.
Peter, do you have the picture of Jain cosmology that we had put it on the stairs?
Of course, I showed one.
Share the picture.
We had two. We had actually three on cosmology in the exhibition. Yeah. One original painting of Jambudvipa, two Loka Purushas or Loka representations, different styles. One was a replica of the Red Fort, Lal Mandir in Delhi, a painting which Kirit kindly procured for us. And it was vast. And actually the guides of the community, they spent most of the time at the beginning to explain the cosmology, because people didn't know, of course. I mean, visitors were, I think, 80% Jain. So even they were not well informed. We had actually these displays, but just showing one or other representation does not tell the whole story, obviously. But what I learned, it was the first exhibition of this type I did, was that you cannot present people with many words. They don't read. You know that from your own visits in exhibitions. And the story has to be transported visually. And then at home, if they're interested, they can read something or take the catalog or the companion volume. And how this is done, we have to focus on certain things. So the exhibition was built on contrasts, like male, female, this naked Parshva put opposite the image of the Sadhvi, this line diagram. Digambras do not accept females as full ascetics, and so on. So the male-female dimension is there. Then image worship, non-image worship. Then the written tradition versus the living tradition. I mean, there are a number of oppositions which shape the structure through which the visitor, in a way, walks. And this cannot replace lectures, for which we had a conference in 3 days, cultural programs, and it cannot replace study. Of course, if you want to transport this knowledge properly, then you have to take a course in a university or wherever. That's the only way. This is just, to excite people and to show things which even specialists don't know or cannot see easily, like in Zurich, these objects. I've seen them in India, many of them, but not all. They were wonderful.
Peter, this year has been very tremendous. 2 exhibitions practically, one after the other, one in Zurich, another in London. And your book, Pure Soul, Peter Krieger's book on which he wrote in German, 220-page book. You are part of that book. And that is, by the way, it is being translated as of now into English. Our plan is to get it published early next year, make thousands of copies available. It is a very, very good book. And so many of these things are happening this year. So it's tremendous. Your contribution and other people's contribution. Kirit Gosalia working day and night. He does not sleep. He's a 24-hour machine. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to you. You just ignited all the things. So now the fire is occurring.
I think there are many pillars of this, including Peter Pfluger, Kirti Gosalia ji, Sudhik Chand ji, Bhandare ji, Ashok Jain, Upam Jain, DC Jain. I could not take names of all, but wonderful things. And as mentioned, this I think this is what we wanted to have this lecture, and this will be on, I think, on YouTube also for the people who are not attending. But this is the wonderful work being done, and so professionally and perfectly. I think you have touched everything in the exhibition, and so well organized. In the first week, you have said that there was some hiccups, but such a great work and such a large work to organize, and such a day and night work from Kirti Gosalia ji, Peter Flugel. I know he is very dedicated every time. The work has to be perfectly organized. So that's what I could say, and it's a really wonderful thing to have this lecture today, because this gives more insight how wonderfully and beautifully you have done this work and touched upon the subject. We may have, as Sulik Chandji said, that bringing some part of this, it's also a standard value in India would be great thing to have that also in future, also in US, as you mentioned, and Gosalia ji is working on that for sure. But in India, doing such a standard work would be very, very well, I think will be very well received also. Because as you know, some of the people, this book is wonderful, absolutely wonderful book. And so many articles, including the figures of Parshnath from Karnataka, also the scriptures. So wonderful book. I've been gone through this book for a period of time, but not fully, but it's a wonderful book.
Soganiji, with your permission, if I may say, only 6 days ago, we have established a Jain chair at Deccan College in Pune in Jain archaeology. This is the first one. Jain archaeology has not been studied before, so that chair was established on Monday a few days ago. And Peter, there's something you would like to know.
Very, very much. And it is in Pune. It's wonderful to know that something in India you are also doing, which is very well. What we wanted to have is in Europe and US also you have done a lot of work, but in India also started doing that, will also progress well. Thank you so much. And I would say Jai Jinendra to all for all good time you have given today. Peter Fruger, Gosalia ji, Sulik ji, all of them, Soni ji, Ashok Jain Saab, Anupam ji. It's a wonderful to have you all here, and this wonderful lecture from Peter. Thank you so much again, Peter, and so much for your time. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Jai Jinendra. Jai Jinendra.
Jai Jinendra.
Jai Jinendra.
Jai
Thanks.
Jinendra.